Let it go. Let it go.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Reading Reddit with Amber. I'm Amber.
And I'm not Amber.
This is Brian. And I am back, at least for now. It's been a busy couple of weeks, so I was away for a little while, but I'm back with some more Reddit stories for you. Our first story today is, Am I the jerk for telling my neighbor I'm a whore? Now, before we get into the story, I do want to say this channel does not condone slut-shaming. I will be using some language here because it's in the text of the story, terms that may make people a little bit uncomfortable. So, I read the title out loud. So, I do not think that these words are, like, good words, but, like, they're the words in the story, and the vibe of the story is that slut-shaming is bad. So, I wanted to read it as it was written, but if you do not like these words, that's totally understandable. So I'm an 18-year-old female, and I just got home from college, and my parents introduced me to our new neighbor, around a 6-year-old female. She moved in a few months ago and had gotten along with my parents pretty well from what I heard. The day I met her, I was wearing a halter top and shorts, and after my parents introduced us, she looked me up and down and told me something along the lines of, "Oh, sweetie, you shouldn't be wearing things like that. You'll give the boys the wrong impression." I asked her what kind of impression, and she told me, well, that you're a whore. My parents looked at me and tried laughing the comment off, but I wasn't having it, so I responded with, "Well, good thing I am a whore then." My neighbor was taken aback, to say the least, and told me I shouldn't joke about things like that, and so I told her it wasn't a joke and that I have had countless sexual partners, which isn't actually true. I admit I may have taken it a little too far. She had no response, so I told her it was nice meeting her, and I walked back to my house. I heard my parents profusely apologizing to her as I left. I got home and my dad got angry with me, telling me that I had ruined their relationship with their neighbor and that I had to go apologize. I told them no, because I wasn't going to stand for being slut-shamed by anyone because of how I choose to dress. He told me I was ungrateful and gave me a "respect your elders" speech before storming off. Since then, my mom hasn't spoken to me, and my dad has told me that I'm a jerk and has pestered me to apologize to her many more times, even to the point of saying that if I don't, he might not let me live here anymore. I don't think that the threat is actually credible. He just really wants me to apologize. I recognize that I probably took it too far, but this wouldn't have happened at all if she hadn't tried to tell me I was dressed like a whore in the first place. So Reddit, am I the jerk?
Hey, respect your elders.
You know, he's older than me, in case you were wondering where that's coming from.
You kids, you need to respect me. I'm your elder.
No. So I do not think OP is in the wrong here. I like this story a lot. I thought it was kind of funny. Because OP says the things that, like, you want to say, but, like, I would never have the courage to say things like that. I would just be, like, sit there awkwardly staring at the ground, like, wishing I was just, like, sink to the floor. So, like...
I might say something like that.
Yeah, she says kind of like the things that, like, if I was, cooler, I would say. Kind of the things you wish you were cool enough to say. But yeah, the neighbor handled things completely inappropriately. Like, you just met someone, they're wearing shorts and a halter top. Like, it's summer, it's hot. I mean, even if it was winter, it's still not an appropriate comment, although you could be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't wear that. You might get frostbite if you're in Maine this time of year. But, like, you know, there was absolutely no reason for her to comment on it. Like, shorts and tank tops are just kind of normal things to wear. And
well, and alternatively, she could have been like, maybe you shouldn't be wearing what you are because you might give everyone the wrong impression. And then she'd be like, what do you mean? And it's like, well, that you're a Karen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think OP handled the situation fine. And what I don't like here is that her parents didn't stand up for her. They just were like, they're so insistent on being friends with the neighbor that when the neighbor is, like, basically like, you're dressed like a whore to your daughter, then they're like, oh, haha, this is so funny. Smile and laugh, instead of being like, actually, that's kind of inappropriate. Please don't talk about our daughter that way. She can wear what she wants.
Yeah.
So, good on OP for standing up for herself. Bad on the parents for getting mad at her for standing up for herself and not standing up for her.
All right. Our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Encouraged My Wife to Publish Her Book? My laptop pooped out on me after 5 years about a week back, which was a bummer, and I just haven't gotten around to getting a new one. Then yesterday, when I needed to send an email super badly, that's when the desktop decides to update. It's taking forever, so I went to my wife's home office to use her desktop. I don't go into my wife's office much. She never asked me not to, so I figured it wasn't a big deal. I send myself an email. Then I saw a file on her desktop titled Writing. I thought it would be neat. She's always been an amazing writer. Then I started reading one. It was a 367-page erotica. The part I read was good, pretty kinky. Half of it we've tried, and the other half seemed to be fantasies. See, this helps me because it helps me know what she wants in bed. Obviously, though, I worry that she'll think I read it. However, I am more concerned about the fact that it was super good. I want to encourage her to publish it or seek out her options. But then, she would know I read it, which means she would know that I snooped, which would mean that she would potentially be very upset with me. But really, I'm just trying to convince her to pursue what she obviously seems to be passionate about, so would I really be a jerk?
Well, you're already a jerk, OP.
Well, the thing is, he's like, well, I want to hide the fact that I did this thing that I know that would upset my wife, but how do I reveal it without upsetting her?
And it's like, there's no way you reveal this without upsetting her.
You know, I think honesty is the best policy in this case. Just come clean, OP. Say to your wife, hey, I was snooping. I know I shouldn't have been. I'm really sorry. But I read your erotica and I thought it was really good for whatever it's worth. And then if she wants more feedback, that's when you can offer more feedback.
Yeah, well, I think OP, definitely you don't snoop on your partner's stuff if you don't have their consent. That's a huge violation of trust there.
Yeah, it is.
And so if she's really upset with you over that, I mean, I agree with Brian that coming clean is probably the best option, especially since you have this burning desire to tell her about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has every right to be very upset with you for invading her privacy in that way. I mean, I'm a writer and I don't mind if Brian reads my stuff, but if he were to just kind of go through my writing without asking, that would feel kind of icky. I have him read my stuff all the time, but if he just started digging through my writing, that might be kind of a little weird and uncomfortable. So also, just as a caution note, the things that people write about in fantasy are not necessarily what they want in reality.
Yeah, well, I was actually wanting to talk about that bit there too, and he makes it sound like, oh, hey, now I'm going to help try this stuff, and maybe she doesn't want you to try this stuff, and that's why you haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have, the best way to find out what your partner wants is to talk to them. And so you could ask her if she would be interested in the things you saw in those pages, but don't assume that just because she wrote about them, that she wants to try them.
Yeah, well, she may be writing this with hopes to publish it someday, and she may, because this sounds like a very long erotica. It sounds like a very long book, so it could be that she has a desire to publish this someday, and she just hasn't gotten around to it, or is it not in its final draft form, or any number of things. So, you know, a book like that's going to have a wide appeal. So she may be following tropes that are popular today because that's what's going to potentially sell.
So,
and who knows? She may have already published books and you don't know about it.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking she might share it on forums. There's all kinds of writing forums where people, put things up for free to read different, fandoms and stuff like that. There's all kinds of sites on the web where you can post writing for free, so it's possible it's already out there.
Yeah.
All right, our last story for today is, am I the jerk for calling the cops on my creepy neighbors who make monsters? So here is the rundown, guys. I bought a house a while ago in an average enough neighborhood. Quickly after moving in, I discovered there was one thing that was not average about it. My neighbors to the left are beyond weird. It's a young couple, like early 20s, but I can't say for sure because they refuse to talk to anyone in the neighborhood. I hear them talking to each other when they're out in their yard, and they seem nice enough to each other, but a knock on their door only results in no one answering, and a friendly hello when I pass by only results in blank stares. Almost like they are confused and maybe even a bit annoyed that I would talk to them. This isn't the worst part though. They make costumes for like Halloween, but they seem to do it several times a year. I know because they paint them outside in their yard. I've seen them out there making robots and suits of armor and things like that. Those never bothered me. But recently, they seem to have gotten a fancy for the horror genres because they are making some really twisted things. For a few weeks, I had to deal with scared kids because they had made a sculpture, or at least that's what I think it was, of a plant eating people. They had some very realistic looking arms and legs and even a head being eaten up by the gross looking plant. I tried going over and telling them they couldn't do that stuff outside. It was scaring my kids. They just looked at me and ignored me. I was annoyed, so I started shouting, and the guy said to leave their yard, and the girl was obviously scared of me shouting. So I did. About a week later, the plant was gone. So I thought the problem was solved. It wasn't. Because today they were out there painting horrifically disfigured minions from Despicable Me. These things had sharp horror movie teeth and were covered in blood and just looked horrifying to me as an adult, let alone a kid who loves minions like one of mine does. Talking to this couple got me nowhere last time, so I called the cops. They showed up and talked to me and then the couple. After a bit, the police came back and informed that what the couple was doing is perfectly legal and there is nothing to be done. They did say the couple told them they would be done with the minions in a few weeks and then they would be sold. The cops said it like it was a victory, but I know shortly after this they will be out there again with something else twisted. My wife says I shouldn't have called the cops because I didn't try hard enough to have a conversation with this couple. She's heard from some people who have lived around here longer than we have that they both have Asperger's and just don't like talking to anyone besides each other. But I don't know what else I could have done, or really what else I can do to make them stop. So Reddit, am I the jerk who called the cops on an autistic couple, or something else? Really need some outside perspective on this.
Oh no, no, you're just fine. This is perfectly acceptable behavior.
No.
Judged by the fact that the police did absolutely nothing.
You are the jerk who called the cops on an autistic couple. So I wanted to read the story for a few reasons. First of all, I love Halloween props. I love Halloween. I love Halloween prop making. I do try to be cognizant of not doing anything too spooky. I don't have the skills to do anything that spooky, but also I am aware we have kids in our neighborhood and I like putting out decorations that they will enjoy. But if we had kind of like, but I love like gory horror stuff too. So like this just like, I don't know, the couple in here, like I was like, those are my people. Like I could, I don't know. So, but I lost my train of thought. I was like, I love horror, everything. So I'm like, yes, horror people, great. But just kind of OP's whole attitude here toward them is a little problematic. Because as someone with a communication disorder, it's a lot like autism. If I'm not actually autistic, we don't know 100% sure, but my current diagnosis is not that. So I have a lot of the same things that those people do. Like if you were to talk to me on the street and I don't know you, I'm going to be like, I'll try and smile, but like I'm just going to not talk or say very much. So like everything they're doing, like the not being social thing, that's very typical in people with autism. But he acts like they're like horrible people for not like responding to him.
Well, I mean, I think that he just doesn't understand how they communicate, and I think that he can't accept that they're not being friendly to him, even though he's making an effort to do so. And, that just, he needs to understand that not everyone's going to be friendly and not everyone's going to want to talk to him, and it's nothing personal.
Right, and it's not even necessarily a lack of friendliness, it's a different way of communicating,
Yeah.
a different communication style.
Well, a perceived friendliness.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, like, it doesn't even mean that they're necessarily unfriendly, it just they communicate in a different way than the way the OP does. And also, he, like, shouting at them and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't sound like... I like, very, like, he's approached the situation very well at all. So, I mean, I think that this is their yard. They're allowed to do what they want. Of course, if your kids are getting scared, it is fair to talk to them about that, I think. But then getting in their faces and shouting at them is not an appropriate way to handle the situation. And at the end of the day, it's their yard. You can't really stop them. Like, it sounds like OP wants some fix-all that's going to make sure they have to stop this, but he's not entitled to control what they do in their yard as long as it's not hurting anyone. All right. Well, that's all the stories I have for you for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving it a like or letting me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Thank you. Let's not drink my water.
See, folks, she doesn't like my germs.
He has his own water.
I'm over here
It
dying
has lipstick
of thirst.
all over it. I mean, if you want to drink out of my straw, actually, go ahead. You're just going to get lipstick all over your face.
Go.
All right. Would you not poke me?